The FBI has just confirmed a critical breakthrough in the Charlie Kirk assassination case.
Yeah, you think he'd already be in place?
You would think that. So there's somebody on the roof right there? Just saying? He just ran from, over, where's my finger? Well, from over there, ran in, and now he's right there. Just saying.
Investigators now say the fatal shot that killed Kirk came from a rooftop overlooking the event space at Utah Valley University. A high-powered rifle was recovered from that location, left behind by the attacker, suggesting the strike was carefully planned and executed. In a major development, the Bureau has released images of a person of interest linked to the shooting. Surveillance footage shows a young individual entering the building shortly before the attack, carrying what appears to be a long case. The FBI is calling on the public for assistance, urging anyone who recognizes the suspect to come forward immediately. Officials are stressing that while this person is not yet identified as the shooter, they are central to the ongoing investigation. Witnesses at the event described panic and chaos as the shot rang out. Thousands had gathered under the white tent to hear Charlie Kirk speak, and many reported diving to the ground as the sound echoed across campus. Within minutes, Kirk was rushed to the hospital, but doctors confirmed he did not survive. The release of the images has already intensified the manhunt. Social media is flooded with speculation, though authorities warn against misinformation. They continue to emphasize patience, promising that every available resource is being used to track the suspect. For now, the country waits. The FBI's release marks the first real glimpse at the person believed to have been behind the rooftop assassination. Whether this leads to a swift arrest remains to be seen, but the pressure is building by the hour. He stepped up under a white tent. A crowd pressed in from all sides, young faces, phones raised, snapping images, video. This was his moment, Charlie Kirk, glittering in the harsh Utah sun, the air sticky with expectation. He had drawn them here, he provoked them. He thrived on the edge, Turning Point USA's American Comeback Tour. Prove me wrong table. Campus politics had never felt more alive nor more dangerous. Midday, September 10, 2025. Utah Valley University. 3,000 souls assembled. Faith, fury, ideology, and applause. The questions started sharp-edged. Mass shootings, statistics, identity, gun rights. A voice in the crowd asked, "Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?" Charlie responded, "Including or not including gang violence." He didn't finish. Then came the shot. A single gunshot from somewhere far off but close enough to deliver devastation. A bolt-action rifle, officials would later say. A rooftop, a distance, an angle, the crack through the air. The reaction, eyes widen, bodies freeze. Charlie Kirk's hand goes to his neck. Blood, chaos, screams, people duck, run. The canvas tent shakes in the wind, flaps rustle, feet pound pavement. Campus security, private guards, local law enforcement, all scrambling. But the bullet found him first. He slumps, his words stop. The momentum of them, the ideology, the noise, everything halts. Charlie Kirk was 31, husband, father of 2, a man who built a following on colleges, on cable, on podcasts, but also on provocation, identity politics, conservative fury, on controversy. He had cultivated both loyalty and hostility in equal measure. His speeches polarizing, his criticism sharp, his critics many, his supporters devoted. On this day, though, there was no debate, no win or loss, only the hush after the storm. UVU's quad turned scene of pandemonium. Students screaming, dropping to the ground, reporters ducking, phones recording, a lot of blood. Witnesses spoke later of the neck wound, left side. The recoil captured on video, his body jerks, his head swings. He goes limp, taken away by security, then to hospital. But the word that spread, it's worse than shot. The word killed, murdered, assassinated. Officials call it political violence. The words taste bitter in a country long divorced from assassination in its public life. The crowd disperses, campus lockdown, blocked gates, helicopters overhead, sirens in distance. Stories cascade. He was debating mass shootings. He asked a student a question. Then the shot from a rooftop. Law enforcement, multiple agencies. Utah Department of Public Safety, FBI, forensics. A high-powered bolt-action rifle recovered in a wooded area near the campus. Footprints, palm prints, forearm imprints, video footage, clues, but no suspect yet identified. Someone college-aged, wearing dark clothing. Blended in, climbed staircases, got to the roof, fired downward. One shot, one kill. A distant, clean execution. Some say sniper, others assassin. A building's roof becomes a kill zone. A political movement's platform becomes a crime scene. Simultaneously, reactions. President Donald Trump orders flags to half-staff. Governors, senators, liberal and conservative alike condemn the act. Vice President J.D. Vance, Utah Governor Spencer Cox, voices tremble with anger and sorrow. They call for unity in face of violence. They call for justice. They call for prayers. He founded TPUSA in 2012. He built a youth political empire, campus by campus. He wielded social media, charisma, certainty. He courted controversy. He insisted on arguments, debates. He stood in the eye of polarized America, daring the left to refute him, daring the right to live up to him. He was no stranger to threats, to protests, to heated takes, but he never expected bullets. He rode the waves of culture wars, immigration, free speech, gun rights, identity politics. He shaped young conservative identities. He flourished by dividing lines. But now the lines themselves have become battlegrounds. And this was no protest gone wrong. This was no moment of chaos leading to tragedy. This was execution. Campus shut down, UVU closed until further notice. Classes canceled, students bewildered, parents calling home, media helicopters overhead, social media alight. Video of the shot goes viral. The moment the chair shifts, blood sprays, panic. Some posts filled with prayers, others with blame, some daring to ask who did this. Others fear violence is turning political debate into mortal risk. Politicians speak. Some say this marks America's turning point, that political disagreements will no longer be confined to words, that someone believed ideology required eradication, that fear must not silence speech. But many are already silenced. Authorities chase leads, videos from the stairwells, footage from rooftops, tips from students, dark clothing, an arrival just before noon, ascending staircases, reaching rooftop vantage, a scope, a bolt-action rifle, fire downward, a single bullet, then vanish. Weapon recovered, but suspect unknown, still at large as of last official update. 2 people detained initially but released, no ties, the trail cold in places. Forensics busy, the rifle, the footwear impression, palm and forearm prints, fingers twitching, eyes scanning, faces in crowds, a silhouette in shadow, the clock ticking. This isn't just a murder, this is a message. Whether intended or not, it becomes one. Charlie Kirk wasn't just a figure, he was a lightning rod for culture wars, for free speech debates, for young conservatives, for America's polarized divide. The assassination shatters illusions, public speaking carries mortal risk. The stage becomes battlefield. Across the nation, political factions watch. Some mourn, some seethe, some fear they're next, some say nothing must change. Others demand sweeping reforms, protection for public figures, harder security, stronger laws, more accountability, more listening. But what changes when trust dies? When every rally, every speech feels like potential target? What cost comes when ideas become killable? Polarization, radicalization, the culture of outrage, the political theater, firestorms on social media, the demonization of opponents, echo chambers that amplify cruelty, words sharpened into ideologies of war, and here, one shot from a roof, one life ended, and thousands changed forever. Security protocols questioned. How did the shooter approach? How many officers were present? How many exits? Camera blind spots. How do you protect free speech while allowing vulnerability? How do you debate ideas when ideas are bullets away from your throat? Charlie Kirk once said he invited challenge, but challenge is no longer limited to argument. His death demands more than outrage. It demands reckoning. His friends remember him as father, husband, leader. His adversaries, even if they disagreed, shocked at the extremity. His death crystallized what many feared, that political violence is no longer fringe, that the public square is under threat. The nation woke up the morning after with headlines blaring one word in block letters: assassination. It had been decades since the American political landscape had felt the sting of that term with such force. This wasn't the slow unraveling of a scandal, or the predictable fallout of a resignation. This was blood on the pavement, a leader gunned down in front of his audience, an event that people could replay frame by frame on their phones within minutes of it happening. On the other side, critics insisted this was bound to happen because of the world Kirk operated in, that the endless cycle of outrage, speeches framed as battles, and the rhetoric of war eventually spills into real war, that if you constantly live on the edge of fire, sooner or later sparks catch. But no matter which narrative you chose, one truth burned bright: America had entered a new chapter. How could this happen in broad daylight, in a state as security-conscious as Utah, with thousands gathered, with local police, private guards, and campus safety? That's what law enforcement scrambled to answer. The shooter had scoped the rooftop of a student building. Surveillance footage later revealed the figure arriving with a long case, dressed like any other student. No one questioned him. He walked with the calm of someone who had rehearsed it. No shouting, no panic, just steady. Up the stairwell, down the hall, through the emergency door, up onto the roof. The vantage point was perfect. The sun behind him, shadows masking his face. From that angle, he could see Kirk's podium under the tent. A single shot. Then he vanished, slipping through back stairwells, blending into chaos. When the weapon was recovered, it was propped neatly against an air vent. No fingerprints, just the cold steel reminder of how vulnerable anyone could be. But what haunted the nation wasn't just the death. It was the realization that no one was safe. Not politicians, not activists, not even those with the loudest microphones. Donald Trump Jr. called Kirk a warrior, a brother, and a martyr for free speech. J.D. Vance said his death marks a dangerous turning point for America, where debate is replaced by violence. Even critics like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said, "No disagreement, no political fight justifies assassination." But for Kirk's closest allies, grief gave way to anger. Some vowed revenge, not in the literal sense, but through political warfare. More rallies, more speeches, more defiance. Others called for armed security at every event, a militarization of political discourse. The idea of open forums where students could debate felt like a relic of a more innocent time. Kirk's wife released a short statement. Charlie loved this country, he loved his family, and he believed in the power of truth spoken boldly. He should have come home tonight. Instead, I hold our children and pray. No interviews, no appearances, just silence. The kind of silence that speaks louder than any speech. 2 young children now fatherless, a wife now widowed, a family now shattered by the crossfire of politics turned war. The global view. Internationally, the silence grew, the tension grew, and with it, the divide. Authorities released sketches of a person of interest, young, thin, early 20s. Witnesses placed him near the stairwell minutes before the shot. His background, unknown. His motive, unclear. Some suggested a radicalized left-wing extremist. Others suspected a lone wolf, detached from ideology, chasing infamy. The truth remained buried, but the absence of answers left room for theories, and theories, in America, can be more dangerous than facts. Charlie Kirk's murder will be studied not just as a crime, but as a symbol. The symbol of what happens when a nation drifts too far from dialogue and too close to war. The symbol of how polarized culture corrodes safety, erodes trust, and feeds monsters who believe a bullet is stronger than a word. Supporters immortalized him. Murals went up. Hashtags trended, Justice for Charlie. His speeches replayed. His podcasts downloaded by the millions. In death, his reach doubled. But at the same time, his critics warned, do not sanctify him. Do not forget his role in the culture wars. Do not let assassination rewrite history. He was divisive, they said. He was polarizing. He was not a saint. And that conflict over who Charlie Kirk was may outlive the memory of how he died. The nation now faces the unthinkable question. If this can happen once, what stops it from happening again? Who will be the next target? On the left, on the right, in between? And how many more bullets are waiting for the microphone to fall silent? Because after Utah Valley, America learned that words can still kill. Not in the metaphorical sense, but in the blood-stained, bone-breaking, life-ending sense. And that's the story no one wanted to believe. The shooter's face remains a ghost, a shadow across the rooftop, a blurred figure on a grainy security camera. Investigators pieced together fragments, the backpack, the long rifle case, the way he walked, calm, deliberate. Psychologists weighed in. Was this ideological or simply the act of someone broken, obsessed with the spotlight? They combed through online forums, searching for manifestos, for rants, for breadcrumbs that would explain how a stranger decided to end a man's life in front of thousands. Charlie Kirk's life ended in a spray of blood on a college campus, but his death opened a wound much deeper, a wound that forces every American to ask, what kind of country are we becoming? And is there any way back before more microphones fall silent, before more debates end in screams, before more families bury fathers and sons in the name of politics? Because if there isn't, then September 10, 2025 will not just be remembered as the day Charlie Kirk was killed. It will be remembered as the day America crossed a line it can never uncross.